And frankly, it got to the place that I didn't care anymore. I'd grown up in an environment where I felt like it was safer to be able to lie to protect myself, was what I told myself. It's easier to lie about that than not be accountable, not be responsible, not have to deal with that issue of my parents saying that wasn't right, or you shouldn't have done it this way, or you shouldn't have done it this way. And I got to a place where I learned how to lie extremely well. Learned how to lie extremely well so that growing up, my parents thought that I was a terrible and awful liar. And I continued to have this habit over and over and over until it became like just a knee-jerk reaction, just a response to life. If I wanted to get out of something, lie. If I wanted to run away from something, lie. If I wanted to hide the truth in any single aspect so I wasn't accountable for something, lie. The problem was it didn't ever stop. It just continued over and over and over again. It continued into my relationships, it continued in my work, continued in my schooling, continued in all different aspects. So when I got married, I thought, maybe this will fix a piece of me. Maybe it'll just work its way out. But it didn't. The lies kept happening more and more and more. And as a narcissist, I kept showing up in an abusive way and lying my way out of it. Telling myself that it wasn't that big of a deal, telling myself that I wasn't a bad guy, telling myself that I wasn't that person, I didn't do that thing, they did it to themselves, they left me, playing the victim, all different things that I had to twist my mind into this mental gymnastics to try to avoid the truth, that I was a liar. I would lie about everything. I'd lie to my wife that I was being faithful to her while I was out with another woman. I would lie to my wife saying that it wasn't me, that wasn't what the text was about, that it wasn't that big of a deal, that she was making things up, that she was overreacting. I'd lie about everything in order to run away from the truth of who I actually was. I didn't want to admit that I was a liar. And as a result, nothing would shift, nothing would change. Like, this is several years ago. 5-6 years ago, coming to this conclusion, understanding, hey, if nothing changes, nothing changes. I'm going to be in the same exact pit, the same exact rut over and over and over again, but I didn't want to admit it. There wasn't a piece of me that wanted to own up to it, because owning up to it meant that I would have to deal with my own shame, my own guilt. I'd have to deal with what I'd done. I had to deal with how I'd hurt my wife, how I destroyed the relationship, how I'd hurt my daughter. Like, I'd have to deal with all the emotional and mental ramifications and impacts of their lives. I didn't want to. I felt like it'd be easier to run away from it. Be easier to lie that it never even happened. Be easier to compartmentalize, push it aside, so I didn't have to own up to who I was. The piece about this is so messed up is I knew I lied to the people. There wasn't a piece of me that thought I'm not lying. I knew I lied to other people. But to me, it was helping save me from hurt, from pain, from guilt, from shame. I didn't even know all those words. I was just like, it doesn't feel comfortable, so let me lie. And I would lie to people over and over and over, and I knew that I did that. Some of you are questioning right now, does my guy know that he's lying to me? Yeah, he knows. Like, he's not at a place he's like, I didn't know I lied. Like, he knows. I forgot. No, he lied. I didn't tell you. No, he lied. Well, I didn't tell you to, like, be able to, like, hurt, like, save you from the hurt and the pain. No, he knows. Narcissists will lie over and over and over to avoid accountability, to avoid responsibility. And that's what I did. And that's what I knew. I knew that I lied to everyone. The difference was I didn't realize, and I wasn't willing to acknowledge, that I lied to myself by who I was, by how I was showing up, by all of the toxic shit that I kept doing over and over and over. Do you see that the guy in your life, if he's not willing to be honest, nothing shifts, nothing changes. If he's not willing to be honest about himself, if he's not willing to be honest to you, nothing's going to shift, nothing's going to change. No transformation is possible. The guy in your life, he's been lying to you for a long period of time. You've just refused to see it. Or you've refused to acknowledge it so you don't have to do anything about it. You see, nothing changes, nothing changes. If you don't shift your world and understand that he's lying to you, he's lying to himself, and no amount of your loving him better, no amount of trying to make him wake up is going to magically fix him. The only thing that you can do is heal and transform yourself. But the problem is you've been lied to for such a long period of time, you've started lying to yourself. You start to tell yourself that you're not good enough, that you're not worthy. You start to tell yourself that it's your fault that he cheated on you, that it's your fault that he's lying to you because you didn't do this, you didn't do that. You start lying to yourself. Here's the biggest thing. I knew that I lied to other people. I didn't care. I didn't want to admit that I lied to myself. It was interesting on Sunday, our pastor said a quote. He said, in a world that hates truth, the truth will oftentimes feel like toxicity. It's really interesting. That's a lot of what I try to do here as Raw Motivations is speak truth. And part of this, the harsh, visceral truth, is I lied to people and I didn't give a shit about who I lied to. Because it was all about me. It was all about protecting me. It was all about making me feel better about myself. So I'd lie to another person so I didn't have to be accountable to what I just did. I'd lie to another person so I didn't have to own up that I just hurt someone. I'd lie to my wife so I didn't have to admit that I was having an affair with someone else. I'd lie all the time. And I was good at it. And I didn't care. The guy in your life is doing the same exact thing. He's doing the same exact thing to try to extend his time with you. To try to borrow time so that he can just feel a little bit better about himself so that you stay and he doesn't have to do anything. Because he's not actually working on himself. He's not actually shifting everything. That's how I used to show up. I used to show up as a liar, as a cheater, as an abuser, as a manipulator. The difference was the switch to being honest. The switch of actually showing up and saying, if I am not willing to be honest, nothing changes. If a narcissist is not willing to be honest, nothing's going to change. He's going to stay in the same dead-end route, doing the same shit over and over and over again. Because the majority of narcissists are not willing to be honest about anything. Because that means they have to actually take ownership of what they've done. They have to take accountability. They have to take responsibility. They have to deal with the shame and the guilt inside, and they're running away from that too many times. Here's the piece they need to understand. If you aren't honest with what's happened to you and aren't honest with the triggers that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, you'll stay in the same cycle with the same exact guy forever. Because he's triggered you, he's trauma bonded you, and he's trapped you to stay stuck with him. And maybe you're in or maybe you're out of the relationship, it doesn't matter. The goal inside of this is you finding freedom and you being able to reclaim your life. That's why I'm announcing and releasing the Reclaim workshop that we're hosting July 12th in Orlando, Florida, or virtual all around the world. To be able to bring people together in the same room, women who have actually been dealing with this or out of this, and they're trying to figure out, how do I actually heal? How do I actually work through this? How do I actually release the trauma bond, get rid of the triggers, stand up in a place of confidence and security? Because if you're still in or out of the relationship and you feel like you're stuck inside the healing process, this is for you. To realize that if you don't actually see this piece of dealing with yourself, your trauma, honestly, seeing the narcissist in your life, honestly, nothing changes and you stay in the same exact shadow of him, but not actually who you want to be. If that's you, then go to rawmotivations.com/reclaim or drop a comment down below as we finish this video with the word reclaim, and I'll send you the link. July 12th in Orlando, Florida in person, or virtual on Zoom all across the globe. There's a piece inside this that I want to be able to help you move forward in the healing process. This is you, and you want to move forward in the healing process, then Reclaim event is for you. So reach out, go to rawmotivations.com/reclaim, or drop a comment called Reclaim below to join us July 12th in Orlando, Florida, or virtually anywhere in the globe. You have a blessed, wonderful day. We'll see you all next time.